Today is the 14th of June, 2022. Thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel and go to my website, www.susanmealing.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. So I was listening to two different YouTube clips, one in reference to Fox News, and I will post the link in reference to that in the information section to this video, as well as another clip in regards to the Gutfeld show where Dana Perino, or Miss Dana Perino, was giving a bit of a, I don't remember the word she used, but it was a little bit of a humorous sort of opening in regards of where I personally thought it was cute. I decided I was going to do a little bit of a outfit sort of thing regarding those who remember the 1980s. It was really so cool to do this with your shirt or dress or whatever, and mix it up with the 1950s sort of type of pants during this time frame in 2022 somehow. I don't know why. I don't know whose fault it is. Somebody thinking that bringing back pedal pushers, the equivalent of regarding those types of pants and being comfortable. No, they're not. But it is as it is. I know in the 1980s that sort of look was also a thing regarding, well, certain ages. I was a child in the 1980s, so we had those stirrup pants, and they were, well, there's a terminology in regards to fertilizer, in my opinion, regarding stirrups as to that particular situation. And so, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm a biological female, just remember that, and I'm saying that was fine. Yeah, no, as well as now in regards to. So Ms. Perino had a bit of a humorous way to open, which I personally think is fantastic, mainly because of the knowledge that she brought forward as to her own background. So she had discussed some of the situations as to how she had been in Washington, D.C. And she had been around during, those who would remember, President of the United States of America 43, George W. Bush. And I have the belief that, laughter is a good form of medicine. It assists with dealing with a few factors. And, well, in some references, sometimes it can take a little bit, because how do you joke about some things, especially when, your former boss is the President of the United States of America? That could be a sticky situation at times, I'm sure, but at the same time, the understanding of. And so in those references regarding how a lot of people, in my opinion, they haven't seen where people who have been a part of Washington, D.C., or elected official aspects, they haven't really seen that. They only see, in my opinion, where the individuals are always serious. They're always, and they have to be, I understand that, but they're still human beings. And because they're still human beings, they still have to deal with certain situations. And with dealing with certain situations, in my opinion, I haven't understood why it's been considered acceptable for certain people to discuss things in comparison to others. So I think it's a good start. I do. I think it's a good start. You still have the capability of taking in consideration as to how serious people have taken their employment, while at the same time of realizing that they're still human beings. In my opinion, in regards of quite a few factors as to the way the political spectrum has been in quite a few situations, if the general public knew that all of them are human beings, they would have a different perspective in comparison. And yes, while taking care of business and the saying of business as usual, there's still the fact that they are human beings. They have thoughts just like anybody else. Some people might not. Well, you can take in consideration President of the United States of America 45, Donald J. Trump, and, I would guesstimate there's plenty of people. I know there's the silent majority, and there could be a few people that might have appreciated the way in that reference to the Eminem song. I can't remember which song it is, but the lyrics are, well, I'm giving you stuff that you only joke about inside your mom and dad's living room sort of thing. Though at the same time, when you think in consideration of a few things, well, there's technology. So I'm not talking about Eminem, although you can hear him through technology, though what can be heard through technology when you think about it. And so that... those particular factors might be something to take in consideration. So while listening and then processing and going through a few different thoughts, because I don't know how other people are, though I don't think about one thing at a time. I usually have a lot of thoughts going on at the same time, and what I can say occurs one at a time are the words that come out of my mouth. One at a time. Yeah. Otherwise, it sounds like garbledy-goop in my opinion, but I wouldn't know. I haven't heard people who can speak, 5 words at the exact same time. I'm not the smartest crayon in the toolbox. It probably might be a little confusing to hear 5 words at the same time, for one example. And then that capacity of. So I can think about more than one thing at a time while having a discussion, or in this particular reference, working on a official YouTube video of mine. So my thoughts just go the way they go, and I would guesstimate I'm not the only one. I would think that might be a common trait, though other people have this thing called self-control, or a filter. The only filter I know in reference to when something in regards to my mouth would be if I have a cigarette and the cigarette filter, or if I have an e-cigarette, the filter that's in that. That's about the only filter I can think of when it comes to, usually, especially in person, face-to-face in person. I can acknowledge that. And those who have known me in person, face-to-face in person, probably I would guesstimate they might say the same thing. So in those references, in the video that I had listened to with Miss Perino, she had brought up a bouncy house. Well, back in the year 2012, I had attended an event, and it was a house event, pun intended, because it was a house party. There wasn't house music, there wasn't trance going, there wasn't any of that, although that would have been cool. Personal opinion is as it is. Nonetheless, there was a bouncy house, and there was a situation, there were a few situations at this particular event, and it was the 4th of July, so, there was that. So I had ended a relationship with a couple that I had been dating at the time. And that relationship, ironically, the male was named Joe, or Joseph, and the female was named Megan at that particular time frame. We had been over for, I think it was like a month and a half, maybe 2 months by that point in time. And I'm just not the type of person that goes on about relationships, specifically the ending, in the time frame of. I'm very cognizant and aware of emotions and, you know, those things called feelings and all that sort of stuff. And then because of various factors as to being involved in a community, well, I'm just not the type of person who's willing to go into those factors. So there are very few relationships that I have had in regards to dating. And I made a promise to my son and my daughter during the first separation from their biological father, as well as the second and final separation from their biological father, in that reference, that I wasn't going to discuss any relationship factors in front of them or with them until after they were at a certain age. Having grown up in the tri-state area in the 1980s and 1990s, there were a lot of people that I knew that, obviously being a minor in the 1980s and 1990s, I saw the impact regarding those situations. So when they were at their houses, whatever they were dealing with, you know, so when going to school, in my opinion, you know, it was where they could focus on whatever they were focusing on. So if they were focusing on whichever school subject, they were capable to not have to go into those details. Not that it wasn't important in certain references to go into those details, but it was an escape for them, and it was educational at the same time. So I view school in that capacity, and when you take in consideration as to how much of a dork I was, well, I paid attention to a lot of different things. And so people that I had known that were in households where their parents were separated or divorced or in the process of, it was one of those, they didn't need to have certain things as a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week reminder, in my opinion. And so they already were going to go back to whatever house and then deal with whatever. And while, yes, then you have the escapism within the house as to the different electronic devices, whether usually they went to video games or television. And so I wanted to make sure for my son and my daughter, they didn't have to deal with that. They were capable to have something that wasn't in that capacity. That's why I made the attempts that I did with my son and my daughter. I didn't really want them playing too many video games. I made an exception as some time went on because of what was going on in regards of my daughter for my son, because there was no way to hide that. So it didn't matter whether in reference to school or at the house, so, or apartment or wherever we were at the time. I wanted to do what I could to mitigate those situations for him while doing what I could as a mom for my daughter. So in reference to relationships, it really didn't matter to me what my own emotional aspects were. My son and my daughter were more important to me, and their emotional development as well as their intellectual development in conjunction to their spiritual development, because of being honest about different discussions. I'd read through different spiritual texts with them and discuss usually the Bible, or what would be considered the Torah, because I go over both the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. I am a confirmed member of Presbyterian Church USA through Old Tenet Presbyterian Church, and I'm also an ordained reverend. And I've been heavily involved with spiritual and religious studies from a very young age. So in those references, my son and my daughter would discuss a multitude of factors. I made attempts to show my son and my daughter how to meditate in reference to sitting still and quieting the mind and those capacities, because my bakgong and my bakpu, being born and raised in China, there are different factors. I didn't get to go into many details when they were minor-aged children, mainly because of how things went. And so I did what I could with art or artistic therapy, in reference to giving them papers to draw on and different arts and crafts sorts of things. So that way they would have that and would be capable to utilize the aspects of in ways that would expand their consciousness and yet at the same time give them a way to focus in comparison to always relying on technology. I didn't want that for them because I was concerned that that would be a problem in certain references. And while, yes, I knew at some point in time there was going to be the point where, yes, technology was going to be more and more integrated within life, I wanted to make sure that there were ways to go into other areas of life without having to fully 100% rely on. I had seen that in the 1980s and 1990s in that reference. So I wanted my son and my daughter to have that. Well, a great way is in regards of comedy or different viewpoints to process various situations that might be considered off-putting to some, and yet at the same time it might just be the only way to really put it into words where you don't have the same you have the emotional connection and yet at the same time you don't. You're capable to take a step back and review situations and take into consideration the different factors of the different connection points. So in regards of the very few relationships I had ever been in, I just personally didn't go into that, not just in person, face-to-face in person, in any area that my son and or my daughter may be a part of, but also because of being involved in so many communities, I wasn't willing to go into that because I knew how high school was and I wasn't willing to deal with that. That was another factor, that if the relationship situation were to be whatever, that would be something that would be discussed in a mature manner. We were in reference to the communities I was involved in. It was supposed to be considered the adult consenting lifestyle. So because we weren't in high school, I didn't want to have that personally for myself. I didn't really like high school to begin with. So I really didn't want to continue those sorts of situations personally. And that's why I really didn't discuss any of the endings of any relationship that I had been in, or even during the time frames of, I really did rarely just discuss it. It just wasn't something that I personally had that need for. And I figured if the person that I had been involved with was at an event with me, that's one thing. But if not, I'm still myself. That's kind of the big important factor. And while I know that there are situations where, well, it's a 50-50 relationship, well, you still have to be 100% of yourself. That's my opinion in that regard. And so in any capacity of the very few relationships that I have been in, I just didn't see any need because of those time frames. And with everything that was going on during those time frames when my son and my daughter were minors, I didn't ever want them to ever question anything because of technology, and if they were to ever go and research anything. So in regards of whether my son realized it or not, any time of writing about my daughter, well, obviously in the same sort of capacity, it's one and the same. They're two different individuals, obviously, and two different genders, obviously, but no matter what, everything in that time frame impacted one just as equally and opposite to the other. So being a mom, and a single mom at that, I had to do everything possible to make sure both of them were taken care of as best as I could equally, despite the way certain things were as to the writings at that time. So in reference to this reference that Miss Dana Perino had brought up regarding a joke she had made about a bounce house. So this time frame, it was the 4th of July event in the year of 2012, and I had ended a relationship with this couple. My son and my daughter didn't know that I was dating them at the time. It wasn't something I was willing to bring up because I did not want to explain that. It's just something I didn't really feel like going into those details of, and it was as it was. It wasn't like I was looking at them in a in a permanent sort of situation either. That's another thing. I wasn't looking at that sort of an integration personally. I had a lot going on at that time. And additionally, because of being a single mom, I needed to make sure my son and my daughter were taken care of before looking into those capacities of. Personally, on top of that, I don't actually have the internal aspects where a male and a female, and then me being a third, is really something I would look at in long term anyway. 2 males and I can do that. That I'm more comfortable with. A male and a female that are married, and then I know that that's kind of the fantasy for some, and for me, not so much. I grew up as a tomboy, so I don't really have that need in those references regarding that capacity. It's just my personal viewpoint, and it's just realistically who I am. I grew up hanging out with males. I didn't grow up hanging out with females at all. I mean, I did, only in church though, and even then it was kind of and then at school, and then gymnastics. Other than that, I mean, there were some females in martial arts, but martial arts is still martial arts. And so I played football and street hockey and ice hockey and roller hockey, because there's a difference between street hockey and roller hockey, just for that clarification. And then basketball and baseball. So it's kind of, it's a lot of male-oriented sports in the neighborhoods and stuff like that, because it wasn't just in the neighborhood that my biological mother and biological father's house was in, though it was also in other neighborhoods that I went through in regards of the 5 boroughs, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and ish to a degree regarding Lancaster, because of all of the running around as far as that was concerned. So I got to hang out and play with a bunch of different guys here and there, and usually 9 times out of 10 it was mainly males in comparison to a bunch of females. The only time I ever played football with females was powder puff football. And, well, I was upset because we couldn't tackle. So, ironically, I would guesstimate, so there was this guy back in that time frame named Eric, and I would guess, because if he remembered, or if he even remembered me, he had blatantly said, as far as, because it was juniors versus seniors, he had said, we're gonna do this and that and the other. Has anybody ever played football? And I was like, I did. I played football. And he was like, you did? You're small. Oh, don't let my size fool you. He learned later. He got hit in the chest a few times. And that was just with one hand. That wasn't even with my shoulder. I'm just saying, as far as I was concerned. So, because he was being rude, so I just kind of did this, don't be mean, don't be mean, don't be mean, don't be mean, sort of thing. And that was just my hand. Again, that wasn't my shoulder, either one. And he was a quarterback on the football team, so, Nonetheless, during that powder puff football talk before actually going to go play, well, what type of football did you play? What other type of football is there? So, I figured the reason why it was called powder puff football was because of, the fluffiness in comparison to real football. And so, and in comparison to all the other females, so all the other females had little shorty shorts. And then I had basketball shorts on. So, because I was under the impression we were going to play football. So... I don't know why they were wearing shorty shorts and little tank tops. Apparently they were interested in something else. I was interested in actually getting to it, but it is what it is. And so, although I suppose there is a difference depending on what getting to it would be depending on. And now that I think about it in this year of 2022 compared to 1998, well, I guess I just realized that high school sort of hormonal, well, it is what it is. It's 2022 in comparison to 1998. And again, I grew up as a tomboy, so I didn't ever really look at males in that capacity. Not that I didn't, I did, though, because I had always been everybody's, little sister, especially in New Jersey. It was kind of like, well, like you're gonna pay attention to me anyway. I mean, maybe you will one day, but even still, compared to, I've seen how other females look in comparison to me. So, it is what it is. You'll let me know, I guess. If not, I'm still gonna go do what I'm gonna go do. Just is as it is. I wasn't raised in the capacity of wearing shorty shorts, no. I know that some were, I guess, but not me. I just didn't really, I didn't even feel comfortable in them anyway, so, it is what it is. I'm a little different than some, hypothetically, in every capacity. So, so in regards of this 2012 situation, the 4th of July, it had been a month and a half, maybe 2 months since ending the relationship, and I didn't even go to several events just because of how over emotional they were. And it was like, okay, well, no, that's fine. I don't have any sensation to go into that. I'm not gonna deal with that. So I'll just, instead of the people who host the events having to deal with that in that capacity of, because I was in high school, so I know how some of that went, and I wasn't willing to deal with that. that snide commentary, and then I don't have patience for that. I can't handle that sort of stuff. So instead, I went to a few events, and then on the 4th of July, well, it still happened anyway, in a different capacity than the bickering back and forth, face to face and person in that capacity. So I showed up to the event, and I think it was, I had a red, white, and blue, like 1950s style bathing suit. It had little ruffles on the side, had a corset back because, and, but it was, had little strawberries on it, if I remember correctly, with a white background and then some darker blue lining. And I had sandals to go along with it. I had my sunglasses. Well, my sunglasses at that time were prescription sunglasses. I have a prescription. At that time, I think my prescription was 4.5 or 4.75 in each of my eyes. And so, or minus, whatever it is. And so if I didn't have my contacts in, and I didn't have my prescription sunglasses or my prescription eyeglasses, I wasn't gonna see anything. I mean, I'd see blobs everywhere. And other than the areas where I knew, kind of the overall layout, I'd just see blobs, and that's it. So it was as it was. So I show up to the event, and the bounce house that was there, that one female and I had went in to get for the event, as far as that was concerned, as far as I was informed, we went half and half on that. It showed up, it was arranged and everything like that. And I just went around the event as I normally did at any event. I went and talked with people, so on and so forth. Well, this is the 4th of July at that time, in the year 2012. So it's a real quick, update in that regard of that time frame. So it was less than a full year since the first time as to the Irving situation regarding 2011. It was less than 3 months since the Fort Sam Houston emergency room situation regarding my daughter. My daughter was in the hospital at that point in time. My son was with a friend of his, though, still having that concern in those references. School, regarding my son's school, the situations as to really having preferred to be in my house that I had created into a home in comparison to living in a townhouse apartment, because it just wasn't comfortable to me at all. The factors of so less than 3 years from that point in time had been regarding the Vandenberg, as well as Boca, or out from Boca, and the Gulf of Mexico, as far as those situations. And that's just in a small way. That's tiny as far as what was really going through my thought processes at that time. So this female comes up to me, I'm going to guess at the behest of the two that I had dated and broken up with, and she walks up and she goes, "Lady Dory Bell." Here we go. How's this gonna be? All right, go ahead. What? You are being so rude to Joey and Megan. How? How? And she said, because you're just going and walking around this event and having fun. Okay, so we're back in high school. Awesome. Great. Well, maybe it's because the bounce house is over there and people are confused because we're biological adults, and, instead of like that halfway, so it's like high school, college. Well, there were a bunch of college students that were there, so, and so it's, okay, how is it me walking around and, as you might think, having fun in comparison to the thoughts that were going on? No. How is it that you think that I'm having all sorts of fun and rubbing it into whose face? What? Where is it? Because now maybe it's because I was born in the year of the dog, okay? And so when I think of something being rubbed into somebody's face, I think of in that capacity. So I'm not, we do this sort of thing. That wasn't what was going on. I didn't do that sort of thing. So, thing. I'm just throwing that out there. That didn't occur, so I didn't go and do that. And so she went and said, you know, they have feelings and they are upset and blah, blah, blah. And it's, high school. All right. I have more important things to think about than that. Yeah, so I don't really care about that. I gave them enough time before going to this event. I didn't want to cause any problems to, you know, Mike and Patty, because they already have like all of this babysitting to do because of all these you know, they've got all these people in their house and their backyard, and so they're babysitting all of these whatevers. And so maybe I have a different viewpoint when I go to an event, because, you know, respecting somebody else's property in comparison, they're taking care of all this sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm just walking around. What is your problem? Why are you coming up to me and being like, you're rubbing it in their face? No, I'm not. I wasn't, and that's the thing, I wasn't rubbing it in their face, because if I was rubbing it in their face, well, okay, you have the references to, you know, this is, you know, that's how, because that's how it goes regarding a dog. And since I was born in the year of the dog, okay, maybe, fine, all right, I know I can view things differently, fine. But then even still, I wasn't being like, well, neener. Like, because that's how I would view it. If I was actually being immature like that, in that capacity, it'd be like, yeah, so there, I can't even think of what I would, I just am not that way. That's really what it boils down to. And so, you know, I guess other than, you know, that sort of thing. Oh, this is kind of funny. Please do leave comments and let me know what your responses were. Subscribe to my official YouTube channel and go to my website, www.susanmilek.com. It's the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Let me know. Although I guess maybe if like people, you know, enough people see that, and what is it, those videos of people watching videos, that would kind of be funny. I wonder how that would go, you know. But again, so I wasn't rubbing anything in anybody's face at that point in time. I wasn't. And so, you know, if I was, it'd be like, you know, well, if I were to, whatever rubbing it in somebody's face would be, other than doing that, because simple things for simple minds, I guess, I don't know. And so in that reference, it's just one of those, if I was doing that, well, I probably would have an idea of what to do. To give as an example. So, you know, I did what I could to explain to that female, and she was like, no, I know you're totally doing this just to, you know, no. And so then she brought up, you're wearing that bathing suit just because. And I was like, yeah, it's red, white, and blue. Who would ever think on the 4th of July, you know, you'd wear something that'd be red, white, and blue? Imagine that. And she was like, I know. Okay. Awesome. All right then. And then, you know, she was like, oh, well, you know, if you know, you look how you do. Uh-huh. And you did that. Yeah, I picked out my own outfit and stuff like that, I did. How is this rubbing this in? Like, can you explain this to me? And so she tried giving me these examples. So because I was wearing a bathing suit, that was what it was perceived as, to rubbing it in. There's a pool. I'm just throwing this out there. Sometimes, I don't know how many other people do this. Maybe I'm weird, okay? They had a pool that was, you know, it was an above ground pool that they had set up. I'm fairly certain, I don't want to assume, maybe I am not the only person who would wear a bathing suit to go swimming in a pool. I don't want to assume though. It could happen. I don't know, maybe I was starting a trend and some people didn't know that you could wear a bathing suit in a pool. However, that's what I did. I didn't get to go swimming though. However, I did want to. I did want to go swimming, but I didn't get to because, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff just so happened to have occurred. So then it was just, I didn't want to deal with it. My headache was randomly really sporadic that day, especially with, you know, it was daytime. So the sun was out. And so anybody who deals with headaches and migraines, well, that sunlight, that son of a bitch out there. Let me tell you, when you got headaches and migraines, I got some words for that ball of light as far as that son of a, I mean, I guess that's why it's called a son of a bitch, because, you know, when it comes to the sunlight, it's bright, so rude. I don't know if anybody told that sun out in the solar system, you know, when you got headaches, rude much. What an insensitive, you know, planetary alignment, something another. I mean, seriously, I'm just saying, you know, that's kind of rude to my headaches and migraines, that damn sunlight. I'm just saying, you know, if anybody was rubbing anything in, by technicalities, that sun was rubbing in that I deal with headaches and migraines, having the nerve to be out in the sky and stuff like that. Rude. I know I'm not the only one who has headaches and migraines either. That sun? How rude. Having the nerve to be all bright enough to light up the entire area and stuff like that. How dare that sun have the nerve to do that? If anybody's rubbing that in, I mean, I'm just saying you have to use sunscreen. So, you know, sunlight. How, you know, and it's so damn bright that, you know, the moon gets lit up. How rude. You know, astrophysicists and stuff like that, along with space guys, could probably. I'm that type of a dork. Yes, I am. And so, you know, I got to deal with some whining and complaining because apparently just talking with people upset. It's so sad, it's so pouty, it's so pouty, it's so pouty. In comparison to actually doing anything to, you know, rub it in that way or whatever in comparison. I'm kind of having fun with that right now. Because I could just envision people be like, what can I say? So, you know, but yeah, that's sunlight. It's rude. It's all hot and stuff. And then you have to wear like protective stuff so that way you don't have certain issues. Rude much? That sunlight is not ADA compliant for headaches, okay? I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't know who has to, because at this time frame in the year of 2022, with as many people who have been into the bureaucracy and stuff, excuse me, I would like to file a FOIA request. Who decided to make the sunlight that bright, okay? You need to go and send a FOIA request to whoever did that and be like, can you turn that light down just a little bit? That's some rudeness, okay? Because I know I'm not the only one who deals with headaches and migraines, all right? Psh. Stars at minimum have the decency to, supposedly a star. Oh, okay. Sure. Rude. If anybody's rubbing anything in, it's that sun, all right? Having the nerve to be all bright. Enough to light up the entire half of the earth when it goes around. And then it has the nerve to take 8.5 minutes. I mean, seriously, all right? So make up your mind. Either be on or whatever, or take an 8.5 minutes as the earth rotates around in orbit and stuff like that. How rude as far as that is concerned. And then when you go and take in consideration that some people work at different times, well, excuse you, sunlight. Psh. Rudeness. Ever think about what other people do who work at different times, huh? And then I know that there are those who have to understand this, whose idea was it to put roadways where you drive into the sunlight? I'm just going to throw this out there. I know there's the east to west sort of thing, but excuse me. During the time when it goes to sunrise and then at a certain point over the horizon, excuse you, highway, what have you, builders and stuff like that. You do know that, like, the east is where the sun rises and stuff like that. Have you ever thought about how that is? Okay? And then in the west is where the sun sets. And so, driving in the sunlight, it's kind of, bright. I don't know who thought of that genius or whatever. Just pointing that out there, Just saying, yeah, little sun visor come down. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. No, that's fine. I think that person would be rubbing something in comparison, to, the supposed claim that when I was walking around, all of a sudden, that sort of stuff is concerned, thinking that I'm rubbing anything in. I wasn't doing this. And so, but anyway, so there was the bounce house situation as far as I was concerned. And so a few other people at that particular event, yip. Ugh. We are biological adults. So, in my thoughts, first and foremost, we're biological adults and this is going on. Second, I didn't realize how much babysitting needed to occur. Just because I got certified to be a certified babysitter with first aid and CPR with special needs and stuff like that, back when I was a child, excuse me. That's for minor age children, all right? That is not for people who are biological adults. Can we please grow up? But instead, I dealt with a bunch of people. Oh, are you feeling okay? About what? Oh, Joey and Megan. What? That was a month and a half ago, and we didn't even date that long. Ugh. Ew. Seriously. Just ugh. And then when I, after I lost count after, I think it was like 5 or 6, where it was just, I don't want to go into it. I have other, oh, don't you want to talk about it? Are you sad? Are you so sad? Are you sad? And so in my thoughts, on top of everything else that I was already thinking about in my thoughts. So my biological father had this saying, which I know that there are others who grew up with this saying. You want something to cry about? I will give you something to cry about. Okay. And so all of these people were like, are you okay? Are you sad? Do you need a shoulder to cry on? No, I'm grown up enough that I can be a grown up. Yeah, I can walk around areas and just live. I don't need to go over certain things. And so I made attempts to explain. And so when I went into certain details, it was, well, yeah, sure, you're scuba diving. Okay. And oh, yeah, you're a mom. We know you're a mom. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you just dealt with moving and all that sort of stuff. Huh. These people. And then, each attempt that I made to be like, well, here's something that's this or that. Oh, we know. But your feelings about this. I don't need to discuss that. I'm mature enough to deal with things on my own. And if I actually had the sensation that I actually needed to speak with them, guess what I'd do? I actually told a few this. There were, I think it was 2 or 3 people, and they were like, what would you do? I'd talk with them. What? You would do what? Yeah, imagine that. I'd actually talk with them instead. If I had that need. Otherwise, if you're doing this because they're all titty baby temper tantrum throwing whatever and then they can grow up and actually speak with me in comparison to being whiny little freaking high schoolers when we're biological adults. I don't need to have a bunch of whatevers running up to me in comparison, because realistically, if they have something to say, they can grow a pair, grow up, and actually be biological adults, which requires maturity. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go do my own thing. So I couldn't find my sunglasses. I looked for them. I don't know where I put them at all. I was outside the whole time. I know at some point in time I had to go pee, so I may have gone into the bathroom somewhere, and then I could have gotten distracted, which is not difficult. And so, it is what it is. I have no idea what I did with my sunglasses. But it wasn't a big deal because there was a lot of shade. There was I think like 2 or 3 tents, and then there were plenty of trees that, it wasn't too bad. Okay, whatever, fine. So there was a guy that I had a crush on. I thought that people were, playing a practical joke in regards of Joseph and Megan, because I didn't see them at all. And so then again, I did look for my sunglasses. I couldn't find them, and it was as it was. Well, there was a guy that I had a crush on for a while. Well before I had, about 2 weeks before meeting Joseph and Megan, I had, if I remember correctly, is when I had first met this guy, and it was like, oh, I kind of like him. He seems different. He's kind of cute. I mean, sure, whatever, as far as the BDSM stuff, that's fine. Relationship is different in comparison to that. It's just the reality. I know how to distinguish that sort of stuff in the comparative aspects of. And so I had overheard him say something, and I was like, I'm gonna totally flirt. I'm gonna be such a flirt. I also didn't know that this stuff was gonna go on at that point in time, so I wasn't changing my plans just because of somebody else's feelings, okay? That's the other thing. And so I went up, and so the guy was sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I had 2 king-size candy bars and 2 $5 bills, and I didn't understand the joke, but it was like, I totally am flirting and failing. Totally fail as far as flirting. And so, he turned around and he was like, oh, hi, Lady Dory Bell. Hi, total flirt. That's what I did, yeah. Irony of babysitting, right? I flirted. Internal thoughts. Because I had made attempts before to flirt with this guy, and every time it was so one time I had changed out of my corset outfit. I had found out that he had liked something called Batman or something. So ironically, I had this kind of, it was like a dress and it had a bat on it. I was like, I could totally do something with that. Okay. And I have no idea what in any capacity of. And so I'm like, I'm gonna totally go and do this. This will be so flirt. I'm gonna totally flirt. Because I'm a tomboy, so I go, oh, hey, you guys, I'll be back in a minute. Because I was getting ready to flirt. And so I can make fun of myself very easily. It's simple for me. I know myself well enough. And so the different people were like, oh, okay, whatever, Lady Dorabelle, see you in a minute. In less than that, maybe, it depends. And so I run inside, trip on the stairs, because, in my defense, I was wearing stiletto heels that were about 5.5 inches. So I know there are those who understand that when it was night time, so there were stairs, and so just saying. So I run inside, get into the bathroom, really quickly change out of my corset and outfit and stuff like that, quickly throw on the bat something or another. It was a yellow oval or something like that. It had a little cutout of a bat or whatever. I run outside, I'm like, and then I trip over the exact same stair. But in my defense, I was total ninja because I didn't fall flat on my face. It was like, kind of, it's probably really good that I snuck to go see Sailor Moon, because that probably assisted with that muscle memory. And just like, whatever, total ninja. And so the guy, he's standing there, he looks down at me and he goes, what are you doing, Lady Dorabelle? And so I pop up real quick and I'm like, hi. Because I was down here like this and hi, flirt. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, what are you wearing? Never mind. Whatever. Stupid flirting. I don't know what this flirting thing is. This sucks. So stupid. Flirting is dumb. Flirting is so stupid. I don't know why flirting is a thing. This is stupid. Go back inside, change back into my corset and stuff like that. And I guess there's the irony as to Arizona. I didn't have as far to walk regarding Scottsdale, Arizona, to go, change out of one bathing suit that broke into another bathing suit that broke, into another bathing suit that broke, to a bathing suit that didn't break. Because all I did was take a dive in the water and the bathing suit broke. And I didn't think, I've had issues with bathing suits before breaking because, well, I'm a bit of a strong swimmer, so, I'm here. So there's that, there's that saying. And so, so, there is that fact that I obviously am a strong swimmer. I am a tomboy, so I can't make that joke as far as that's concerned. I did go, have the invitation regarding Marine and Science Technology School with the Navy attachment. You know what, Navy guys are called. So, I'm a strong swimmer. And so... And my biological father, after I was born, was like, "Oh, that's missing something between its legs," and it's like, So I can make the joke now. Internal thoughts have been, well, I was born in New Jersey. There's Fort Dix, so there's plenty of sizes to choose from. Which size? I can make the joke in regards to, how boats are measured in reference to the military. Well, the perimeter of this part of one area is this whatever distance. Sure, that's the size, whatever. Who cares? Though size does matter, being honest on that, in that capacity. And so, so in the fast forwarding from that time frame to the 4th of July party, as far as that was concerned, the one time, okay, so I sat on his knee or on his lap or whatever, but it was on his knee, and I was like, yeah, internal thoughts, yay, I flirted and I did it correctly, yay. I'm so smart, until somebody else spoke. And so I think it was Charles who had said the word boy. Alan jumped up, and I'm like, what? Wait, what? Cock block much? Literally at that point, which would be funny if Alan was actually born in Chinese zodiac. As to the year of the rooster, that would be an additional bit of irony. But then, then I was like, what happened? And then that damn sunlight had the nerve to get brighter. Because a cloud moved out of the way. That's how it got brighter. Rudeness. Just saying. That cloud could have not moved with the wind. That would have been awesome. But instead, it just had the nerve to actually go do its own thing. Weather. So, Miss Perino had brought up quite a few funny points and in that reference, and it's one of those, I like that. I do. I like Gutfeld and I like Kennedy, and so knowing that they have different backgrounds, and then you have Miss Perino, or Miss Dana Perino, with her background, I think that she could show in quite a few ways, especially with that particular reference, as to, I think she did something in reference to country music as well, so I'm sure there's kind of a bit of an ease for her to kind of find that sort of way in that reference. I think that will be better in a lot of capacities in a few factors, because of the fact it's known as to the seriousness to her employment during that time frame, as well as the factor of, she reports the news and gives commentary and those references, and the facts are as the facts are. And I think that she has a unique standpoint where she has obviously the time frame regarding that, especially during that time frame for that particular president of the United States of America. And in my opinion, there are ways that, because of the knowledge as to her background, what she would know, of course, and in that capacity of bringing that forward, where you still have the seriousness of the news, though being capable to actually give that viewpoint where you actually think, because one of my opinions in regards of comedy is it does make you think. Despite laughter and everything in that capacity, it does make you actually think, because you have to utilize words that bring it forward in a cohesive way, while at the same time, especially in intellectual comedy, the capacity of making the brain think in a different way, and hopefully more towards the best and betterment in that regard in comparison. And so my opinion, I've listened to her for several years now. First time I heard her was when she was on the 5. I think it was back in 2015 or 2016. And I really paid attention to what she had to say a lot of the time. And I listened to the different individuals on the 5 at that time, especially, though I can't remember what it was that she had specifically said. And ironically, it was either the week of or the week before where I kind of just, it was almost, I don't know how to put it, but there was something that caught my ear at that point. And then the following week, or in that week, is when it was brought up, if you have an opinion, send a Facebook message to the 5 or something like that, and what is it? And so I didn't think the whole thing would be read. I thought that maybe it would be something that might be assistive or whatever in that capacity. Though it is as it is as far as that's concerned. And so I gave my opinion as far as, and I noticed, certain things, because, okay, yes, I wanted my son to pay attention to certain things, but at the same time, yes, I know. And as a mom, it's one of those, yes, I know. Yes, I know you're a teenage male. Yeah. Yes, I do. I know you are. And so, just, keep that in mind as far as that's concerned. Yeah, so I being a mom, then knowing how high school can be as far as that's concerned. It doesn't matter if it's the same high school, different high schools, I know how that is. And so I did the best I could regarding that and those factors, but he paid attention to Miss Jebediah Smith. And as soon as if Miss Jebediah Smith was on, all of a sudden you're going to pay attention. There are many reasons to pay attention. You shouldn't have to only, I raised you a specific way. You're supposed, it doesn't matter as far, in my opinion, I know that, but at the same time, you could pay attention. Yeah, I know you're a teenage male. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I know how that is. No, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference between, in my opinion, that's the difference between males and females. Females, when it comes to the news being delivered, it pretty much is, well, what's the details? What's this? And then males, it's, well, what does she look at? what is she? That's my opinion in that regard in comparison. I don't think it's. I'm not saying that that's fully the way it is, though. I do have the opinion that in a few factors, there's kind of a little bit of more of that than some males may be willing to acknowledge, as far as that's concerned. And so, I could be inaccurate. I know that that's not everything. And then, hypothetically. Hypothetically. So it is as it is. Nonetheless, I did. I liked it. I thought it was great. So I hope that's a thing that she works on a bit more, because I think that would really get that viewpoint out, where the acknowledgement, some sarcasm, what have you, as far as that's concerned, and yet at the same time going into the capacities of. So I know that, I wasn't allowed, because, I was a minor age child and I had a lot of rules I had to deal with as a child. But I knew back then that there were late night show hosts and stuff like that. And they went over some things, not always everything. And in some ways, while yes, I know that I heard about some of the celebrity sort of thing, which that was as it was, but it seemed in regards of news that would be an interesting, I liked, Jon Stewart. I liked how he had done some things, but then I think there were certain things that may not have been realized in that capacity at the same time, and the distinguishing factor as far as how some may have seen things during that time frame. And so, my opinion as far as that's concerned. So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was good. I thought more than good. I thought it was great. So I decided to, make this officially in comparison to the Facebook message about that. So I don't know. Since there's the reference how Tyrus, as far as Gutfeld usually making a comment, I don't know if he was hiding behind Tyrus, so that way Miss Perino could be capable to go and take a seat and go and do that in that comparison. I don't know if he had to, because I've heard in regards of, so I don't know if Tyrus was like this, regarding as far as Gutfeld, I don't know how tall he is or whatever. So, it is as it is. So, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys have a good day. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel and go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com. You guys have a good day. Today is the 14th of June, 2022.